Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host, Alamdar Khan. And yes, as you all know, we always talk about sports and sports news from all across the globe. So, what you can do is surely reach out to us on our social media handles, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and Instagram. But, anyways, what we'll do is we'll head to the headlines first. Pakistan Super League Season 6 will begin on Saturday, February the 20th. And yes, from the world of golf, Genesis Invitational, Matthew Fitzpatrick starts strong as Sam Burns lead at the Riviera. From the world of Australian Open, Djokovic ends Kratsev run to reach the ninth final. Damian Lillard scores 43 against the New Orleans Pelicans as Portland Trail Blazers win the sixth straight game. And yes, those were the headlines, and we're definitely talking about PSL. Yes, we've been waiting for it to happen, and now it's actually happening. It's going to start from the February 20th, but not to forget that, so far it has been a tricky situation with regards to COVID across the globe. So in Pakistan, we have that biosecure bubble, and PCB has actually urged the PSL community to ensure that they ensure that security of the COVID situation, because obviously they do not want the coronavirus situation to go out of hands. Not only that, not to forget that PCB has actually delivered over 235 matches since 2020 and 21, which also includes not only these matches, but obviously international fixtures that we had. To discuss all of this, we have Mr. Adnan Qureshi with us. Mr. Adnan, thank you for being on the show, and would definitely want to talk about some interesting things with regards to the COVID-19 situations and the protocol to begin with for PSL.
Thank you, Alamdar, for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to be on Indus News. It's going to be interesting because most of the players are very tired of the COVID protocols, and it really, tires them out when they have to go into isolation. But I think it's not going to be that restrictive. We are going to allow players to train and stuff, so I think they should be okay in that regards. And I foresee a very interesting PSL. I think that it'll be doing well with the fans coming back into the stadiums at some limited capacity. I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
So, with regards to the COVID-19 situations, obviously, if we look back even into Pakistan versus South Africa, de Kock's body language had been very, very, very down with regards to this COVID-19 protocols and situations. And even now, he has taken a mental health break as per the officials of South African Cricket Association. So how do you see that impact? Because like you said, that in Pakistan, we still have a lighter tone, but de Kock is not well. So if he's not well, if a captain of South Africa could not prove his worth as a captain in Pakistan because his body language was low, and once your captain is out there and not being able to perform and getting that mental agility and the situation up their head, how do you see that not impacting all those players who are flying into Pakistan for this PSL matches?
Well, I mean, Pakistan's situation is slightly different, Alamdar. I mean, first of all, we don't quarantine players into complete isolation when they're arriving, unless and until they have a positive COVID result, which most of them probably won't. So, and unlike Australia or New Zealand or these countries where they have to actually isolate for at least 20 days or something in a hotel room by themselves, which is very difficult.
Right.
In Pakistan, the situation is slightly different. They might be stuck within their hotel room or within the stadium and the hotel room. They're allowed to travel between these areas. They're allowed to communicate between each other. They can have small groups where they can talk to each other. So I don't think the isolation level is as bad as in other countries. I don't think it's going to be much of a factor in Pakistan.
I absolutely agree with that, but I beg to differ at one point. So if, like I said before, if a captain like de Kock actually came down, could not perform, and his entire situation, body language, as I said, was affected because of these COVID-19 protocols and isolation, how do you see that? Once again, how do you see that not impacting those? But I understand, I'm sure you would have seen how de Kock actually did not have that energy level against Pakistan, did not have that captaincy feel to his entire body, and that already affected the entire South African team. So it's going to be tricky. It could work both ways. I know the protocols in New Zealand are different, and in Australia, obviously, they're really, really, really constructively strong, and they do not let people meet each other. But there might be some effect because if someone like de Kock went through this, what do you think? Don't you think something's actually going to impact their performance?
Well, I think COVID is impacting players generally all over the world. I mean, any sports people, even the tennis players, I mean, soccer players, it's impacting everybody to some extent.
Right.
But I mean, I feel most of these players are professionals. With de Kock and South Africa, I think the situation was slightly different. I think they weren't, there's some other thing going on besides COVID within the South African team. I didn't see the body language in the entire team, not only de Kock, the
Right.
entire team for some reason, some political maneuvers or there's something going on behind the scenes, something between the cricket board and the players. The team was not at full strength. They were not, the morale was not there. Lucky for us, I'm happy that Pakistan won the series, but the South African situation was slightly, I believe, was slightly more different than what's happening at the PSL. I
Right.
think the players in the PSL are ready to come and play. Of course, COVID is affecting players I mean, by and large all over the world. But I think these people are professional sportsmen at the end of the day. And I think they are coming here to play cricket, so and they will get to play cricket. So I think it'll be slightly better than the South African situation.
Interesting take on that. And not only that, okay, now let's talk about the series itself. Pakistan managed to literally come up to that point of not letting them take the test series, winning two ODIs, I mean, like two T20s, and letting them at least win one. How do you see the team right now? Because when we were in New Zealand, when we had a fallout, the new team was established. Wasim Khan decided to make this interesting team for us, and I think it did have a positive impact. But how do you see the team performing now, and how do you see them performing when they'll be going to South Africa in April?
Yeah. I think it was great to have that victory in the T20 series and the Test series. I mean, they played decent, but I still don't think that the Pakistan team is doing very well. I mean, we shouldn't be too happy with the results against the South African team. Like we just discussed, the South African team was a weak team. They were not playing up to their up to their level. And Pakistan won the series, but again, we have massive problems, especially in the middle order, on the opening slots. I still don't think that we have the perfect team composition and the balance
But
to
Mohammad
really compete
Rizwan,
against
Mohammad
really good
Rizwan was
teams.
literally an angel for the team.
Yeah,
How do you
he's
see
a
that?
silver lining.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a silver lining. I mean, I'm so happy that Rizwan's performing. He's come out to be a world class talent, and I hope he continues to improve from here. And I hope the Pakistan cricket team and the board recognize players that actually do well. And I mean, because we have a history of dropping players that actually play really well. By the next series or the next series after, you'll probably won't even remember Rizwan. I hope that doesn't happen, but it has happened in the past. Where very, very good performances.
In my opinion,
Have
I see
certainly,
I see a very positive role that would probably be assigned to Rizwan, because he's a very sensible, not only a wicket keeper, but I think he's an amazing batsman. He knows how to play, he knows how to handle, and he's been brilliant,
no
not
doubt,
only on the Test
no
side
doubt.
but also on the T20 side. But not only him, let's talk about Fawad Alam. That's like another big star in the making. Obviously, not to forget those 10 years that Fawad Alam was missing, maybe because of some political situation or some stances. But
Yeah.
yes, the middle order. How do you see, coming down to the middle order, but how do you see these people like Mohammad Rizwan, Babar Azam, Fawad Alam in the batting lineups? How do you see them not proving their worth? Because I think the top order has slightly improved from how it was before.
I think Fawad Alam is a no-brainer. I mean, he's a brilliant test batsman, and there's no doubt that in a test team,
Right.
you have to have Fawad Alam in the team. I mean, there's no buts and ifs about it. So, I mean, if he's not in the team, then it's going to be very silly to not have him in the team, because he has performed. He's come back from the wilderness. Very few players come back from being out of the team for this long and come back and perform like he has. So, I'm a big fan favorite of Fawad Alam's to be in the test side. He's definitely going to be there. Babar Azam, of course, is a world-class player. Rizwan is there. We have the basis of a very good
Even
test
we
team.
have
Azhar Ali,
we have Fahim Ashraf, who's also performed pretty well.
yeah, he's turning into a really good all-rounder, by the way. So Fahim Ashraf is if they keep grooming him, I think Fahim Ashraf could be a really good all-rounder
All
in
right.
the years to come.
One
And I think Azhar
interesting
Ali should definitely
One
move
interesting
up the
question that
order.
I would want
He-
to ask you. One interesting question that I would want to ask you: when they'll be heading to the Proteas to face the Proteas in South Africa, and do you think or expect that we'll have Muhammad Hafiz on board or no? Because it's still on. The debate is still on out there on Twitter. I've seen a few tweets from him, very tricky ones. But let's I just want your opinion on that.
I think purely based on performance in T20s, Hafiz should have been in the side. But I think what happened here is it was a case of discipline. And if it was a case of discipline and they kept him out of the team, then I think that was the right thing to do because they have to send out a strong message that discipline is not going to be compromised. So I think that was the reason that he was not in the squad, not because of his T20 performance. If they're going to base it on performance, then he should be in the side, I believe. And it also depends on Pakistan's aim for the future. If they're aiming to have a young side for the T20 World Cup and their plans are to completely groom new players, then I don't think Hafiz and Shoaib Malik fit into the fold of things as of now. But as if you're basing it just on performance for last year in a T20, then Hafiz should purely be in the team for performance because he performed
Right.
brilliantly in T20s last year.
So your quick
That's my
take
take on
on
it.
how it would end up for Pakistan, how would the situation be in South Africa? Because obviously the pitch would be different. If there are shorter deliveries, we still have those issues with the shorter ball. How do you see this team actually going there and hoping pretty much the same victory that we got in our home country?
Oh, it's not going to be a walk in the park in South Africa. The pitches are completely different, like you said. It's going to be a faster wicket. They have very good, quick bowlers. The short pitch bowl has to be. They have to start looking into training for that.
Right.
They need a fielding coach as of today.
Right.
If they go into South Africa without a fielding coach, they need a fielding coach that can train them to field at international level. They cannot drop catches consistently and try to win matches abroad, especially on other wickets. It's going to be very difficult. So they really need to look into that.
Interesting thing. Your final word on the PSL matches that will definitely be starting from the 20th, because Karachi King is obviously leading for now.
The
How
favorite,
do you
yeah.
see and what kind of impact do you see would be expecting?
I'm really, really interested in one player, which is Chris Gale. He's one of my favorites of all time in T20s, and he's making a comeback in the PSL. The Quetta Gladiators got him at a very cheap price,
Right.
and I think he's going to be a dark horse. I think he's going to fire on all cylinders in this world, in this T20, the PSL T20 tournament. And I really hope that Chris Gale comes through. I've always liked the Quetta Gladiators, so I hope that they can come up and be a good team. All the squads are very balanced,
Right.
so it'll be an interesting PSL. And I think with the 20% capacity for the fan attendance that the government has just approved,
Right.
I think it'll be interesting to see crowds coming into the stadiums and enjoying the games. I think it really helps the players as well because playing to empty stadiums is really no fun at all for a player. So I
Right.
think it's going to be interesting to
Right.
watch the PSL this
Well,
year.
thank you so very much, Adnan Qureshi, for your time and obviously
you.
giving us the wisdom with regards to PSL. So PSL is, like I said, starting February 20th. There's a hope of 20% attendance at the stadium. We hope for good matches, but before that, what we'll do is we'll take a quick break and come back after the break. See you guys after the break. And yes, welcome back after the break. And we initially discussed obviously the cricket side, but not to forget that we're also talking about other sports, which include golf for now. Yes, we're going to talk about the Genesis Invitational that's actually happening. And Matthew Fitzpatrick actually starts really, really strong as Sam Burns leads in the Riviera. And not to forget that we generally keep a guest with us, and we have a very esteemed national golfer with us to discuss this, Zain Tahir. I'll just give a brief about him as well. He's part of the Pakistan amateur golf for the past 12 to 15 years and has had the honor of representing Pakistan corporate golf national team consecutively for 3 years. Zain, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Alamdar. Thank you very much for having me on the show, and absolutely looking forward to sharing some valuable insights. And it's a great initiative done by Indus Television.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll talk about the Genesis Invitational. Obviously, it's hosted by Tiger Woods himself. Obviously, he's not playing, but we'll just talk about how do you see the first day is just passed by. How do you see it impacting? Because obviously now. Some people who were expected to play much better, even the number one golfer like Dustin Johnson in the field. But right now, after the first day's results, things are kind of tricky. So how do you see this going further ahead? What kind of result are you expecting?
Well, it's great that it's quite exciting, the match that's going on. The thing about PGA Tour is, before I come on to the Genesis, Alamdar,
Right.
I would like to share on the PGA Tour, every weekend is a kind of a carnival of a good sport going on,
Right.
Like every weekend in some of the states, there's a match going on, there's a huge purse, and there's a huge audience following. There are COVID challenges these days, but still the matches are up and everybody has a huge following online and in person as well. Regarding the Genesis, yes, it's quite interesting looking at it from the perspective of the game of golf,
Right.
The first 2 days always, a tournament generally starts on Thursday and a Friday, and a player is targeting to make the cut. So yes, you're quite right that the big guns and the big names are not up there on the leaderboard, but the game has a quality that the big guys, they're just trying to be in the match and to make the cut. And once they make the cut, they call Saturday as the moving day, and then they start attacking the pins, start by getting more and more aggressive.
Right.
So just see how it builds up. It's pretty decent right now. The
Right.
big guys are right there.
Right. So Dustin Johnson still has not, he still does not have that lead that he should have had. But as per your perspective, you're suggesting that by Saturday things will start changing and shaping up, right?
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, there's a saying like you cannot win a tournament on Thursday or Friday,
Right.
but you can like certainly lose it on the first day. That's a very famous thing that they say about golf. So what they're trying to tell is that if you look at Dustin Johnson, he's like 3 shots behind, like I think 3 or 4 shots behind Sam
Right.
Burns.
Right.
So the challenge here is that he has the mental and strength and the composure to stay in the match. In fact, the junior guys that are there up on the leaderboard, they're the one under more pressure. They'll try to maintain that lead, and let's see how it comes up. But with these big guns, they come up strong always, and let's see how the match unfolds. Yeah, good luck for the guys.
Yeah. How do you see the last week winner of the PGA Tour, the Daniel Berger? I mean, like, is he participating in this current tournament?
Absolutely amazing. I'll be very frank and honest. Like I'm not sure about that.
Right.
But because the players have a very tough schedule. But what I'm trying to tell you is like Daniel Berger's victory last week was quite amazing at the AT&T Pro-Am.
Right.
And there was Jordan Spieth, one of the very top guys who's trying to come back.
Right.
That's the tough part about golf. And
Right.
he could not make it. He had the lead on the 3 days. And Daniel Berger came very strong. He came very strong, and it was a quite an interesting victory by him actually.
Right. So there are approximately 120 participants in this tournament. And what do you think of the last year's champion, Adam Scott, who's currently ranked 23?
Well, it's all about, when Alamdar, when you brought me on your show, like what I look forward to is like discussing how golf is
Right.
to whoever the audience is of our
Right.
show.
Right.
Because that's the hard part about the sport. Like Adam Scott has won one of the majors, Masters, and he's one of the top Australian golfers. He's ranked 23rd.
Right.
But frankly, in the past 1 year, he is nowhere to be seen. He hasn't had any victories. He hasn't rubbed shoulders amongst the top 10 guys. He hasn't finished in the top 10
Right.
in many of the matches. So frankly, I don't see many of his chances. But at the end, it's a game of golf.
Right.
My bet would be definitely on Dustin Johnson because he just won 2 weeks ago in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And saw the Invitational European Tour. And I fortunately I've had the chance to attend that match as well.
Awesome.
In person. And in fact I was one of the managers looking after some of the insights of the match. I had the opportunity to do that.
That's awesome to know. I'm glad to hear that. Let's talk about, we talk about golf. Would want to know a bit more about the corporate sector of golf within Pakistan, and what strengths do they have? What exactly are they doing to ensure that the sport actually takes more and more shape in this part of the world?
Well, that's quite an interesting thing. You can say like it's an area of interest for me because being a follower and a part of the sport in Pakistan, one really gets associated with what's happening in the home country.
Right.
And I must say that I've been associated closely with the local services guys. I've been associated closely with the other bodies, and these parties are doing a great job because right now we need awareness of this game, which is coming up very strong.
Right.
And I've had the opportunity to go outside, play outside, and experience being a marshal outside on the European Tour and other.
Right.
And I must tell you that Pakistan has huge talent like it has had in every other sport. And I'm pretty sure we can produce the best of players, but what we need is exactly the initiative that Indus TV is doing right now, what Loco Services has been doing,
Right.
the kind of corporate golf that they're bringing in. So it's the kind of awareness you got to bring up, and there's no limit to what Pakistan can do in this game. I mean, we have all the talent you can think about.
Right. I'm glad to hear that. Not only that, with regards to, because initially what people used to think about golf was always an association to the elders, those of maybe 50s or maybe 60s, but seeing someone like you representing the country, not only the country itself, but obviously promoting golf itself is definitely, it actually tells us that, there is a big entry line for the youngsters who want to be there.
Well, trust me, I think if you the very simple, like honestly, being a golfer, you hardly now address that misconception that has been there,
Right.
that it's a game of the elders. You don't feel like addressing that because it takes such a toll on your body, and it's physically so much demanding, the whole game.
Right.
And I must tell you that like if you the best way to look at it is to have a look into the stats, and amongst the top 30 players globally,
Right.
who are actually global stars, both financially or in terms of a following, in terms of how good an athlete they are.
Right.
I think majority is under 30 or under 35, and in the latest studies showing that there's so much link with like if you take one part of golf, that's putting, they're all associated with your reflexes and with your how young your body is to cope with the challenges of that. It's a never-ending science, and age is, I mean, that's just a misconception.
Right.
Yes,
People-
it is a game that the elders can take part in much easily. Like if you pick up a guy who's 50 years older, he won't be able to compete in football or tennis, right?
True.
But over here, he might be able to play a round. But to perform, to be up there, to be giving your best every weekend, to be working out for that, you gotta have age on your side, Alamdar. Trust me on that.
Absolutely. Good to hear that. And talking about DeChambeau, I mean, I discussed DeChambeau yesterday as well. And with regards to how he hits, so people have finally realized that fitness is a very integral part of golf itself now.
It is absolutely. It is fitness is the number one thing, no matter what the sport. Like you gotta be in the sport to realize how much. Like if you pick up any other game, you tell me which other game is there in which you have to hit a ball like 300 yards and control it and land it in an area of like how much, like 10 yards only or like 5 yards only.
True.
It's a game of accuracy of inches only, and you're hitting it from a distance of 200 yards, 250 yards. So to achieve that accuracy, you got to be hitting thousands of balls daily, and to hit thousands of balls daily on the range, you got to be physically very fit. So
Awesome.
It's about what you want to achieve.
Thank you so very much, Zan, for being a part of the show. We'll surely be calling you again and again to discuss all of the happenings, world of golf. Well, that was basically in discussing golf. We've discussed PSL. Now let's switch over to what's happening in the Australian Open. Yes, Djokovic finally defeated Aslan Karatesev, sorry about that, in the Australian Open for the semi-final. Not only that, we are expecting a very interesting take on what's exactly going to happen and who is he actually going to face. So we'll be looking at that, how it faces and shapes up. The news are still coming in, but yet Djokovic is surely one of the hot contender for the finals. We definitely look forward to what happens in the finals. So that was from the world of Australian Open. We'll switch over to the world of NBA. Yes, in NBA, not to forget, the Trailblazers beat the New Orleans Pelicans by 126 to 124. That was a really close call. And not to forget that Lillard basically dominated Pelicans with 43 points and 16 assists in the game. So that was the biggest plus for them. Blazers have won 6 straight games out of their last and 8 out of their last 10 games. So that was basically major updates with regards to sports from all across the globe. What you can do, surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. Till then, all of you, take good care of yourself and bye-bye.